we're live.
Are we live right now?
We're live.
Well, let me continue telling you about the
Are we
vagal
actually
nerve
live?
response.
Yeah, we're live.
See, the thing is, when you have a vagal nerve, I'm sorry, I don't know.
We're just talking hella shit, guys. Welcome to Tribe Talk. We're talking about what happened to Otto Warmbier. How do you say his name?
Warmbier?
Warmbier.
Warmbier. When the unthinkable is unknowable. Okay, now I'm gonna learn about this and we're gonna talk about it in real time because I have been out of the loop on this story in terms of getting into the weeds. But what I understand is really an interesting thing in terms of how we describe vegetative states that are now have different names.
Yeah, what are they calling vegetative states now? They're calling them like unaware, wakefulness, mindfulness, yoga, meditation, hot
I gotta
bodies.
read this article because I actually remember the press using a term. What was it? Unaware wakefulness.
Hi.
Somebody help us out here.
Unresponsive wakefulness.
Help us out. This is Tribe Talk. We're just talking hella shit. So we're gonna hash this out together.
Unresponsive
You're gonna help us.
wakefulness is what they called it. And I was like, isn't that a persistent vegetative state?
So that's exactly what it is. So they changed the name because vegetative is like when Tom earlier used the R word to describe developmental delay. It is no longer, it has a connotation that's negative. Now, is that appropriate? I mean, it's kind of like this, yeah, the person's in a persistent vegetative state. In fact, I think we ought to use inappropriate terms, talking hella shit, inappropriate terms to describe that state because we want to provoke people to really think hard about, do you want to prolong someone's life in that state? Because is it a real human state? Now there's debate about this. So let's see.
Well, I like vegetative state better because it denotes that the person is no longer a person.
They're
Now,
a vegetable.
Well, the argument would be, well, are they or are they not? Some people have woken up years later from vegetative states, but it's very rare, very, very rare.
Is that a misdiagnosis thing, or were they
Yeah,
actually
you
in a
know,
vegetative state?
nobody knows. And here's a question, Tom, and this gets to the heart of this. What is awareness? So are the people in persistent vegetative states actually aware of their surroundings, or do they have some internal awareness that is separate from anything else? They still have brain. It's not functioning the way a brain's supposed to function, but we can't ask them, and they would have no memory function anyway. So even if they woke up, they might not have memory, but they might have been aware of something or having a dream the entire time. That's the trouble with human subjective experience. We can't get at it unless people can tell us what it is. There's no way to measure it except for the correlates of it. We don't really know what people are experiencing.
So this whole thing is, they kept him. They killed this kid, and they kept him alive, on life support to use him as a political pawn. And they could say, oh, he didn't die in Korea. He died back there in America.
Yep.
But really, they killed him.
They killed him. The fucking Koreans killed this kid. All right, let's just not even fuck around. And you know what? I'm saying this, and I'm actually scared for my life right now.
Why?
Because Kim Jong-il will send a couple of people in sweatshirts in an airport, and they'll put sarin gas or fucking nerve VX agent on my face, and I'll just be dead. Just because I talk shit about that fat motherfucker who is a fucking criminal, who is responsible for more deaths than Big Pharma and the opioid epidemic that we just talked about, and should be somehow surgically executed.
Z, can't you take his perspective? I mean, you're always talking about, you're so, you're a transhumanist. God, come on, tell me, what's the good parts of Kim Jong-un?
My elephant's just like, fuck Kim Jong-il right now, okay? No, the good parts of him, no, there's nothing. No, he just needs to be killed.
He was just a small, fat baby once who grew up to be a small, fat man, Z. I mean, come on.
This reminds me of basically Team America World Police, as well as that movie where they go into North Korea and the North Koreans hacked it. What was that movie with, oh my God, Seth Rogen?
The Interview.
The Interview. By the way, amazing movie, where they make Kim Jong-il to be this like very jovial figure who's also a mass murdering psychopath. There was a comment here that I love. Liz Mongeri says, no more vegetations on cardiac valves. Too much butt hurt. It's another inappropriate use of veg.
I love this thing that I've been seeing online. People have been saying in the comments about this story. They've been saying that, you got to respect the law of the country that you're in, all this stuff. Like, dude, he stole a poster off a wall and they murdered him.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
And fuck that country and fuck their laws.
Yeah, no, something needs to be done. I don't know what it is. I'm not a big fan of militarism, but I'll say that fucker is just a bad person. Now, again, I've talked about, when you talk about sort of integral theory, you would say, well, North Korea just isn't at a stage of development where we shouldn't be imposing our values on them. No, it's not about North Korea. It's about one fat fuck and his regime of fucking kleptocrats That's what it's about.
Do you remember the Terry Schiavo thing? And what were your
Oh, yeah.
thoughts? What were your thoughts on that at the time?
My thoughts on the Terry Schiavo thing is they should have withdrawn support on Terry Schiavo and let her pass years ago, and that they were torturing that poor family and woman. Whether or not she was aware of that torture, it was clear to me, having taken care of many patients like this, that was a. And I literally send patients to long-term care facilities where I know there's no. Again, it is impossible to tell if there's consciousness inside there, but man, it's really far-fetched from all the external correlates. So, and then we're spending so much money and so many resources on prolonging this thing that I'm not sure is a human being anymore. Now that's my elephant reaction. I would love to see, talk about changing minds. Imagine this, Tom Heinemer. Data comes out that says that those in persistent vegetative states, or whatever the PC term is they're using now, actually are aware and have feeling and can hear everything around them, and they just don't form memories. So they're not, if they do wake up, they can't tell you this. How much would that rock so many of our worlds in healthcare to know that ICU patient who we're talking in front of, that we think is vegetative, is actually experiencing everything that is going around? So that's one of those things where learning something that's contrary to what we actually believe intuitively would really mess us up. But we'd have to then accept it and change everything we do.
Kyle says, do we really need to fat shame Kim Jong-un? Yeah, we do, Kyle.
Yeah. Look, there's no excuse for fat shaming unless it's fucking Kim Jong-un, because the guy is a piece of shit.
I'm gonna keep pulling fat memes, Z.
No more fat memes. I don't need another constituency angry with me.
Oh, this one's great.
And I've talked.
Donna Gardner says it was a mean thing to do to her. Bullshit. Are you saying, Donna, that it was mean?
To do
that's
what?
bullshit what we said, or it was bullshit what they did to her? I'm a little confused.
Oh no, I think she's saying it's bullshit that they tortured her and prolonged her life.
Okay.
Because Donna is a normal, rational human being.
Pull up those memes of Kim Jong-un where it says, "What kind of cake is this?" And he's just looking at
I
everyday
will.
objects. Those are my favorite.
Oh, he's looking. Let me see.
Hang on.
Logan's got to find him, but he's
Okay.
looking at like a dog, and he's like, "What kind of cake is this?" And they're like, by the way, that was like a Middle Eastern. I'm sorry.
It's so mean. Actually, so fat shaming, that sort of thing, is like the last bastion of acceptable social behavior, and it really should be unacceptable. Oh my God. That's amazing.
It's the kid from
actually.
Up, but he's fat. Kim
That is
Jong-un.
amazing. It's like white people doing Indian accents is still acceptable for some reason. Only I can do it because I'm off-white. Okay?
All right, you're liberal. All right,
No.
all that stuff. You
Yes,
love,
maybe.
You love socialism, and but don't you think we need to just wipe North Korea off the map?
There's
Glass.
a big, okay, if you're talking pure elephant on this, my intuition is, yes, we just need to destroy them. But the problem is it's going to cause so much collateral damage because I'm a rationalist and I go, this is what happened. They're going to launch a bunch of missiles at Seoul. They're going to kill innocent people. By the way, look at the dichotomy between North and South Korea. If you want to understand what a kleptocratic, shitty regime can do to the human species, look at North Korea and compare it to South Korea. South Korea is amazing economic engine, vibrant culture, exporter of goods, amazing people. Everyone who knows South Koreans and Koreans in the US knows they're dope as fuck.
Yeah.
Every Kim and Park and fucking, I'm trying to think of another stereotypical Korean last name so I could be accused of Korean race. New trade policy, import McRib. Oh my God. Okay, don't fuck with McRib, Tom Heimer, because McRib is the shit, all right? Period. When every time they bring it back, I'm like, I'm going to.
Type in, say, what kind of cake is this?
So, let me see here what we got. We were talking about something.
Well, so the standard of medical care that Otto received in North Korea, subpar? Is torturing your patient okay?
Let me read this article, okay? So in real time, I haven't read this. So when he left the United States at the end of 2015, Otto Warmbier was a healthy, athletic 21-year-old. When he returned last week, medically evacuated from a 17-month detention in North Korea, he was in a coma with extensive brain damage. Now, first of all, I want to say my heart goes out to his family, and this is a terrible loss of a young person who has otherwise, had a huge, bright future ahead of him. Warmbier died Monday, surrounded by family. His funeral will be Thursday at a high school where he graduated as salutatorian in 2013. I was salutatorian, Tom Heinemer.
Yeah.
Because I got a B in French because fuck my French teacher. She was a bitch. Also, she was probably right to give me a B because I sucked at French because I hated it. So Warmbier died, okay, so the death, the loss of a buoyant, hardworking, adventurous, much-loved University of Virginia student, touched off mourning, outrage, and many questions. What happened to him, and could he have been saved? What happened to him is the Koreans fucking killed him, but let's read this. The North Koreans.
They tortured him.
They tortured him. They
And then
probably
killed
caused anoxic brain damage, and then he suffered the sequelae of that because he came here with a feeding tube in his nose in a coma, in a vegetative state. All right, so here we go. I'm not going to read what Trump said because I don't care what Trump said. Several neurologists agreed that there's no way to know for certain what caused Warmbier's coma. It could have been anything from an allergic reaction to a drug overdose to strangulation or some kind of torture. So we don't know, right? They agreed that if the trigger could have been avoided, minimized, or treated properly, he could have been evacuated to the U.S. immediately after it happened. The outcome might have been very different. Big cake. Ha ha ha. This is a fish, sir. Oh wow. Logan, you're a terrifying human being, and I love you for it. Okay, so without knowing what happened to cause that, said Kevin Sheth, chief of neurocritical and emergency neurology at Yale School of Medicine. Oh, cool. It's difficult to know for sure. Could they have tortured him? Could they have given him narcotics or other medication that could have stopped his heart? Medical condition, overdose, some kind of toxin, a poison, drowning. In some of the possible situations, an hour or two later, more or less, the course would be sealed. And this is true. When you're anoxic, when you don't get oxygen to the brain for long enough, you're going to wreck your brain. You're going to end up with a Terry Schiavo type scenario where you're in a vegetative state, prolonged vegetative state. So let me see here. Last week, doctors at the University of Cincinnati said that after examining him, okay, here's the money shot, people. They had found no obvious signs of trauma, such as fractures, and that the pattern of brain injury on magnetic resonance imaging, or MRI, results appeared consistent with cardiopulmonary arrest. They said that they are not aware of anything from his previous medical history that would have caused this. And he was on a tour group to North Korea to study abroad in Hong Kong, but was not allowed to leave the country. After a sham trial in 2016, he was sentenced to 15 years of hard labor. Shortly after that, he was injured, apparently. Denied consular visits. Family had no word of him. Okay, listen to me. Listen to me. That is an act of war, okay? To take an American citizen and sham trial him and imprison him and then murder him. That is an act of war. Why? I don't understand why we pussyfoot around this Korean situation. We need to just say, fuck this shit. The problem is the fucker has the ability to fuck with people. But even with that, we gotta do something. And Kim Jong-un, please don't try to kill me. Because I have means to get at you, okay?
You have means?
Cake. Cake. There's more here. Either the brain for a period of time was not getting enough blood flow or enough oxygen or both. But how does that happen? Given how young he is, it's very unlikely that this would happen spontaneously. Look, guys, that's exactly right. If he might have had anaphylaxis, he might have had a arrhythmia, and congenital arrhythmia, but more likely they fucked with him, right? They either waterboarded him or strangled him or tortured him. And it doesn't look like there was physical signs of actual injury that way, so it was anoxia, so something else happened. They could have electrocuted him, right, for all we know.
Mika says, so does this now give us an excuse to do some shit to North Korea? Do we think that's the next step our country will be taking?
Dude, getting into a war with North Korea is still a fucking shitty thing, but this is an active war in my opinion, like doing this to a young American citizen. This isn't the first time North Korea's done some shitty shit.
I'm confused why we even need a war. Send in SEAL Team 6, cut off the head, the body will follow. Like, just kill Kim Jong-un.
They played a war game with South Korea where they took the SEALs and had them fake assassinate Kim Jong-un in his sleep in view publicly of North Korea.
Good.
And what ended up happening in that?
North Korea threatened to bomb the South.
They're like, we got nukes.
That's why they're
They
mad.
kind of work.
They're like, look, we can kill you in your sleep.
Dude, the minute they try to launch their bullshit nuke, it's going to explode right over Pyongyang, and it's going to be a disaster. So I don't know. I don't know why we're talking about this. I have no internal, intimate knowledge of North Korean military capabilities. I just know that they were.
Neither do they.
The North Koreans said that he had contracted botulism. Let's talk about that. Botulism. So they basically Botoxed him. Maybe it was a bizarre Botox accident where they injected it into a vessel instead of into the skin. I don't think so.
On purpose.
They were calling it botulism, and this is what they say. They had no evidence of botulism. They also said that he had taken a sleeping pill and fallen into a coma. Bullshit. And that if there had been botulism and he were diagnosed and treated appropriately, he would not have the brain injury, says Daniel Laskowitz, professor of neurology at Duke University. Now remember, this is the hermit kingdom that can't even fucking feed its people. How the hell is it going to treat, with ventilatory support and world-class ICU care a case of botulism? It's not. Based on what the Cincinnati based on what the Cincinnati doc says publicly, Laskowitz said he was not brain dead when he returned. He could breathe on his own despite the devastating injury, so more like a vegetative state. But after more than a year, he said the chance that a patient with such an injury will regain any meaningful activity is diminishingly small. This is true. Steph said that while it might seem that the patient who is unresponsive has been in identical state since losing consciousness, there can be a continuum, that the patient is in better condition earlier on or perhaps than later. So this is true, there is a continuum of this state. Steph said that when patients are unresponsive, doctors can only infer, oh my God, really, Logan?
That's Tom. I'm not doing that.
That's Tom doing, show Tom's face when he does that. Just look at that. Look at his face. This is literally what he looks like. Tom looks like a school child who's gotten away with some shitty kind of fucking murder. And he's just being a douchebag. I'm trying to fucking drop some science from the fucking Washington Post.
This is TribeTalk, Z.
TribeTalk! So doctors can only infer what they're able what a patient's able to experience. So this is what we talked about earlier. We can only look at the correlates of consciousness. We can't look at consciousness itself because that is one of the only pure individual subjective first-person experiences. The only way you can look at it is through correlates or through someone explaining what they're experiencing. So recent studies suggest that even when patients don't show a physical response, sophisticated medical imaging can show brain activity suggesting a response to stimuli. Now the question is, you can see the correlates of a stimulus response on MRI, but you cannot understand what the conscious experience is like. That's the struggle, at least at this level of our technology. That's why it's really hard to do this. So maybe he did have awareness, said Steph. It gets to the issue of suffering. Yeah, this is exactly what we're talking about. We are as smart as the Washington Post, people, which is not saying a lot. Anything over there? Can I eat that? Says Logan's meme. Stop with the fat shaming of Kim Jong-un.
Never.
How about we human rights shame him? Can we do that, Logan?
Is that a thing?
It is going to be a thing from now on. Okay, so when Otto returned to Cincinnati June 13th, he was unable to speak, unable to see, unable to react to verbal commands. He looked very uncomfortable, almost anguished. Although we would never hear his voice again, within a day, his countenance of his face changed. He was at peace, he was at home, and we believe he could sense that. That's what his parents said. Now, here's a question, Z-Pack, and this is a serious question. Do we, through medical knowledge, try to determine if his parents were correct and that he actually had experience, or do we let them have the experience that they feel he had and let them believe that? In this case, that may bring peace, it may bring some sense of closure, so I would say, yes, let them have that experience. Now, in the Terri Schiavo incident, that same understanding was used to prolong her life. Is that a good thing? And I would say the answer is no. So these are complicated, ethical, moral, human questions that we need to talk about openly and have discussions about.
I do have to say, while nothing that happened over there is appropriate, why did he go over there? Why would any American go over there?
Was that the Christian one who was on like some mission or something to convert people?
It said he was on a tour group, and I don't know that someone else can answer that because I don't know the details. In fact, let's read some comments because we haven't been good about that. Allowing the family peace and closure after all they've been through, allow them that, says Kathy Chudnacki. I agree with that. Let them believe that. How would it hurt Jody Chance? And Jody, the only way it would hurt is if, again, it was the same situation, but now they're prolonging his life when it's clear maybe that these are just vegetative posturings and things that are being interpreted as anguish, or relaxation being interpreted as peace, etc.
How would you transport somebody in a coma, especially on such a huge journey as one from North Korea to America?
Sorry, how would you transport them?
How?
Yeah, so there are ways. Medical transport is a very sophisticated and effective sort of science in itself. And there are a lot of nurses and docs who work on medical transport, airplanes and ambulances and helicopters, and there are ways to safely and effectively transfer even patients who are relatively unstable. Now, he was actually in a stable state, apparently. So not that difficult to do the transfer. You just have to do it right. And it's expensive. Let's read some comments. Patients who've emerged from coma after years don't express clear recollection. So one of the things that's clearly out of whack in people in a coma is memory acquisition. So the ability to actually hold on to memory. Now, an exception is this character, the neurosurgeon who wrote the book. He had meningitis, was quote unquote brain dead according to him, and wrote a book about his experience while quote unquote brain dead. That basically, he's an evangelical Christian, I think, and it confirmed to him that heaven is a real thing and that he was dead and he was there in paradise. Now, Sam
Harris took him apart.
Sam
in his
Harris just
podcast.
basically devastated the guy and said the guy's full of shit, which is exactly true.
Sam Harris is also a neuroscientist.
He's also a neuroscientist and he's also an atheist skeptic, so he's a little biased and he's going to have a bit of confirmation bias. But everything he said was scientifically spot on. But the thing is, that doesn't say there isn't a heaven or there isn't a God or whatever. It's saying this guy's experience does not confirm or deny that.
Well, when I read his account, it sounded a lot like an exogenous DMT trip to me, but he was having the endogenous version, I think.
Yeah, right. So DMT is a natural component in the brain. It's also one of the most powerful psychedelics known to man when given exogenously through ayahuasca or in concentrated form. Here's an interesting thing, Jason Morrison. Although this is an act of war, one person will not justify a war where nuclear weapons could possibly be deployed, despite how horribly he was treated. Oh my gosh, I want to talk about this because this is important. As I said earlier, this is an act of war. He's right, I'm right. Here's where my argument about empathy versus compassion comes into play. Empathy with this one individual means putting ourselves in his and his family's shoes and saying, oh my God, this is horrible, North Korea are assholes, we need to bomb the fuck out of them. That's what empathy does. It's a spotlight. It works on one person or a small group of individuals, and it doesn't extend beyond that. Now, if we were using compassion, which is concern and love in the face of suffering, in a detached way, we would look at this and go, yes, this is terrible. We should try everything we can to dislodge this regime, but war would be worse because it's going to torture millions of people. It's like the face that launched 1,000 ships in the whole Trojan War. That was based on empathy for this one woman. It was a disaster. Everybody died. So empathy is horrifyingly dangerous. You were about to put something up there. Oh, God. Dad, what's that bright light over there? It's Mufasa and the little...
Simba.
Simba. That's North Korea, son. They didn't have enough nuclear missiles, so we sent them one of ours. That is jingoistic bullshit, Logan, and you know it.
I don't know what any of those words mean, Z,
You know bullshit.
but I know America.
Oh, I love it.
Well, all right.
I know America.
They don't have nukes right now, right? Like
They do.
maybe they have some janky nukes that like a suitcase nuke.
They could nuke Japan
That's a big deal, dudes.
or China if they felt
It's a big deal. I like Japan because I like anime,
and sushi.
I like Hello Kitty, and I love sushi. And I'll tell you what, when that Fukushima thing happened, my first thought was, don't you fuck up my sushi with radiation, because I gotta have my Toro, and my Chew Toro, and my Negi Toro.
There is this big elephant reaction that I do have sometimes where it's just like, fuck it, just nuke them, wipe them off the map.
I've said that many times about many cultures that offend us, and I've gotten a lot of shit. No, it's an elephant reaction, and it's a normal in-group, out-group human reaction. Like, oh my God, our fucking people are being attacked. It's time to absolutely wipe the fuck out of everybody. And if we have the capacity to do that, the only thing that stops us is a little bit of rational restraint and a broader compassion, which is very hard in the face of that kind of insult. They wouldn't have treated him in North Korea if he was treated as a prisoner. They won't even treat their own people appropriately, Carrie Hinchliff.
Exactly, it's like a concentration camp.
It is.
there.
The whole country's a
The whole
concentration.
country's a concentration camp.
Exactly. It's like Schindler Park's list.
The only American they treat well is Dennis Rodman for some weird reason. Which just lets you know what a weird country they are.
That is a fucked up country. Kim Reagan says America has disappeared people too, like Jimmy Hoffa, like Richard Simmons. Where the fuck is Richard Simmons? He got disappeared. I saw him at TEDMed. I worked with him. I introduced him. He's pretty crazy. And that's a very bad word to use according to my mom. He's mentally ill and suffers from I don't know what, but it was clear that he suffers from something.
Well, the American government definitely has killed American citizens on foreign soil, for sure.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
With
So I
drone
mean, look.
strikes and other
But the
things.
question
And we
is,
kill other countries' citizens all the time.
but let's talk about moral equivalency. Is it morally equivalent then to kidnapping an innocent American and killing him? No, it's not.
Right.
They're killing people because they think they're threats to national security, whether or not they're right. So there's an intention morality there. Like Kim Jong-un just intends to turn the kid into cake and eat him.
Ooh, speaking of.
I eat it. Please, sir, no. Your memes are bad, sir.
Your memes.
They're unshaming. Oh my gosh, that's a great Tony Braxton song. Unshame my heart. Kim Jong-il so chubby. Okay, never
All right,
mind.
now you're unshaming.
I am unshaming.
Fuck that guy. We can say anything we want about him.
It's Tribe Talk. Fuck it. I'm pretty sure Richard Simmons is going through the change. Shannon Ragsdale. Oh, you think so, Shannon? That's interesting. I didn't hear that. So he might be trans, pre-surgical trans. You know,
That makes sense.
when I met him,
Maybe. I don't know.
definitely consistent with his personality. When I met him, he touched his nose to mine, eye to eye like this. Crazy Richard Simmons hair. I'm supposed to go on and do my TED Talk, and he's supposed to do his. And he goes, I want to pour hot candle wax on you and just watch it melt. And you know the weird thing? I wasn't aroused. I thought I'd be aroused with Richard Simmons telling me that, but I wasn't. But I was delighted. I actually thought he was a very nice guy, and I wish him the best. So let's see. Creepy, says Aaron Beth. No, adorable and creepy also. He's already appeared as a woman. Is that true, Liz Mangieri? Logan, can you Google what happened to Richard Simmons, please?
Google Richard Simmons transition.
That's not weird. Nope, not weird at all. Crazy emoticon, Carrie Bennett. Ew, you got that close, Donna Gardner. No, he was really nice, you guys. He was in a hospital a few months ago for the flu or something, Sherry Manor.
Ooh, it's on the front page of the National Enquirer.
Okay,
which
that's
seems
a
like it must
reputable
be
journal.
True.
What does it say?
Pull that up.
To the National Enquirer.
The
Says,
National Enquirer is my...
Richard Simmons, he's now a woman.
Oh, can I put the picture?
Call me
up?
Fiona.
Fiona Simmons?
Inside his bizarre new world.
I'm going to be
Logan's
honest with
gonna
you.
put it up on.
I am going to be...
But first, one more meme.
You people are sick. Show me the Enquirer, please.
It's coming up.
So I was going to say, Fiona is actually a fantastic name. Fiona Simmons, don't you think? Like, he chose wisely. It's like Caitlyn Jenner. That was a great name.
Don't you got to go with something with an R though, like Regina, if you're Richard?
Regina Simmons?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what he did? He said, if this is true, he said, fuck my old life. Oh my God, that's an amazing picture. Put it up. Oh, that is not a trans individual, you guys. Maybe.
He's in a dress.
Real reason he disappeared for 924 days, not that anyone's counting. Richard Simmons, he's a woman now. He's now a woman. Call me Fiona, inside her bizarre new world. Unmasked, why she's the new Caitlyn Jenner.
Wow, we have really sunk to a new low. We
We've
are
taken
now
it-
using the National Enquirer as a source on the
Are
show.
we TMZ?
The problem is, Tom Heineberg, we weren't prepared for Tribe Talk. Someone in the last episode was like, in our real episode of Incident Report, was like, do a Tribe Talk on, this Warmbier guy. And I'm like, okay, I don't know anything about it. Let's do this. And that's what happens when I'm unprepared. And when I'm prepared, it's even worse. Let's read some comments. No, not Photoshopped at all, Kendra Mason. The Enquirer used Photoshop? Come on, people. That's confirmation bias right there. I think she meant menopause, implying that he is already a woman. Tom Sex. Alexander Wu just says, "Mommy." Alex Wu is an interesting cat.
Kimberly
I like him.
says, yes, you have sunk to a new low. Z, how often do you do this where you're in line at the grocery store and you're like, oh, damn.
Dude.
Brad Pitt's breaking up with her?
Dude.
Like, what the fuck?
So when I shop with Mrs. Doug, I'm standing in that line, and I will loudly read the headlines to her. and she's just always like, oh, fuck, dude, fuck, why are you doing this? And I'm like, oh my God, check it out. Prince Philip came over from Spain swimming. Oh, wait, that's the mnemonic for, came over from Germany swimming. Kingdom, phylum, class, genus, species, something. Okay, I've gone off the rails, people. Do we need to call this, or do we need
Let's
to
call
read
the
some
code
more?
on this one, and one last meme.
They're in paper plane.
They suck it, you guys.
Oh, no, wait a minute. Daniel Jackson, one last thing I want to say, and this is the liberal elephant in me believes this. It is the North Korean government that is the enemy. The population could be described as victims of the North Korean regime as well. 120%, Daniel Jackson, I agree with that. They're absolutely victims. I think everybody in a trans political way can agree.
Do you think we'll see a unified Korea before our time.
I really hope so. I never thought I'd say it about Germany when I was in the 80s and early 90s, and it happened. And I literally, like, I think I cried when the Berlin Wall came down, and I must have been like 18 years old. It was such a formative experience, and I think when the invisible Korean Wall comes down, I think it's going to be an equivalent sensation.
It was also broadcast live back on CNN when it wasn't fake news.
Yeah. When it
wasn't fake
When it wasn't fake news.
Thank you for that, Tom.
Guys, we really love that you join us for this silliness, and we hope we add some value to your lives. You definitely add value to our lives, and for those who don't add value to our lives, fuck y'all.
Yeah.
This is what we do.
We love you motherfuckers, especially you, Alexander Wu.
Woo woo!
Alex
up,
Wu,
baby?
one of my favorites. We out.
I'm aight. Uh-huh.